Are you listening? Damn.
What's up, guys, and welcome to another exhilarating, juicy, this is a Thanksgiving buffet-filled version of the AFC North Talk. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, we got some big AFC North games this week, so if you haven't done it yet, join the AFC North Talk flick to get the pot stirring early on. We got a lot of things to get into. A lot of things to get into. And you know what? I think somebody has something to get something off their chest. He already got Fire Zach Taylor in his name. We're just going to jump straight into the Bengals game here. Really, the Joe Burrow situation. Ain't nothing to talk about in the game. They lost.
Yeah, the game is secondary.
Yeah, they lost to the team, but they lost something more than just a game there. Ace, how are you feeling right now, man?
I'm honestly right now. You guys know that I was fearful of this happening weeks ago, months ago, with Joe Burrow getting hit as many times as he has been this season. It was only a matter of time before something like this could happen. Not only does it happen, it's a catastrophic injury. ACL, MCL, like literally.
Yeah, everything.
It's literally everything. This is why we should have fired Zach Taylor. And I remember. And it's funny now, like now people think that these stories are coming out about the locker room and this and that, how it's run like a college, worse than a college system, how it's unprofessional. This guy was unprepared. I told you guys this stuff months ago. I told you guys this stuff. And people were like, Ace, you're just hating this and that. You're just being a Debbie Downer. No, it's the truth. And unfortunately for Joe Burrow, hopefully we pray that he has a recovery. But this is what happens when you let guys like Jim Turner stick around, when you let guys like Zach Taylor stick around that really aren't that good, they cost you things like this. This is what happens. Like this was a franchise that everyone said, don't ruin Joe Burrow. And Zach Taylor and Jim Turner were like, hey, you know what? We're going to ruin Joe Burrow. We're going to pass like it's Madden for 30 times and a half, on pace to throw for 60 against one of the best defensive lines in the NFL, even though they have a bad run defense. That was the game plan. That was really the game plan. We really were going to go against these guys with offensive linemen that we knew were not good. And I hear all of these people saying, oh, it was just a freak hit and this and that. Joe Burrow got hit 70 times this season. The number one guy in the league. He's been hit 70 plus times this season. And I heard a lot of our fans saying, oh, the offensive line is okay because they're not giving up sacks. Just because you're not giving up sacks does not mean that he's not getting hit. That play that he got hit on was not a sack. Wasn't a sack. Did it look like a sack to you? No, it was not a sack.
No, so that's the weird thing about it. Washington had no sacks in the game, but that's the game against the Cavs.
Oh, they had sacks in the game. Hey, as soon as Ryan Finley got into the game, and that's what makes Joe Burrow look even better. I said that Joe Burrow is LeBron James for us because literally as soon as you saw Ryan Finley get in that game, 4 possessions, 4 straight sacks. Like literally as soon as he got in there, it was just like sack, 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 sack. And it was just like, wow, Joe Burrow has definitely, if getting hit 70 times is the best that Joe Burrow can make it, if Ryan Finley was in there, he probably would have gotten hit 120 times. Fire Zach Taylor, get him out of there. There's no reason to keep this guy here. He has cost us Joe Burrow. He's put his future in jeopardy already. This kid, it just doesn't make sense. This kid was coming off of a season from LSU, so he's already got some wear and tear from that. And then you're just going to subject him to just get murdered by defensive linemen this entire season. And you said, you know what? No, we don't need to sign linemen in free agency. We can go and get Xavier Su'a-Filo, who's a backup. We can go and not draft the offensive lineman into the 6th round. That is what this team did. That is what this front office did. Duke Tobin, he's got to catch some smoke too. He decided to hire Zach. I mean, this guy – it's just ridiculous. The fact that a report came out that this guy's job isn't in jeopardy. I don't see how. I don't see how. He has
That
to
would
go.
be good.
There's nothing else outside of that.
We got a super chat from Tony Serrano, whatever you say that name. Says, finally proof pressures more than sacks.
Definitely.
Obviously,
We
I'm
got
kidding there,
all the
but I do-
pressure. All the pressure.
Super chats are open though for anyone else who wants to give a super chat. Super chats are open today.
Yeah, by the way, if you want to join the show, derail the show, whatever you want to do, send that super chat down below. You know how we do. I'll get off on a tangent real quick here. Before I get off on a tangent, Tony, any thoughts on the future of the Bengals? You know, this was a pretty, I hate to say it, you know, but this is a bungling of this situation in some of the biggest ways that I've seen in quite a while. We said this at the beginning of the season, right? I remember saying this after he played Cleveland. We're like, he gets hit a lot.
It's too much.
This is playing with fire.
The question I have, and I'm not a doctor, right? And the question is this just a freak incident, or is this part of the, like, you know, does this kind of catastrophic ACL, MCL, you know, meniscus, everything? I mean, Adam Schefter's talking about Joe Burrow will not be ready for week 1 of the 2021 season is the current report right now. That's awful. And so the question is going to be, you know, was that an accumulation thing? You know, you talk about the 80 hits this year. Did that take a toll on his knee, and then that finally it snapped, or was just kind of a freak hit against a good Washington team? I go ahead, Ace.
One thing I was going to say is the week before, he got hurt too. He got up and started limping in that last game. So like you said, Tony, I think that's a great point. Was it an accumulation of that?
Yeah. I'm not sure, right? Again, I'm not a doctor, so I can't know that. But I will say this. Look, it is a bungling of the situation. It reminds me a bit of the expansion Texans with David Carr, where they, David Carr, a lot of people talk about David Carr could have been a good quarterback in this league, but, he got sacked so many times early in his career that it basically just changed the course of his career because he got gun shy at some points. You hope for Joe Burrow. Look, obviously, as a Steeler fan, I'm going to cheer against Joe Burrow every week, right? Because I'm a Steeler fan. But this is not how I want the Joe Burrow experience to end. I was looking forward to, Ben versus Burrow for a couple more years, and then whoever, whether it's Mason or someone else who took over, right? Getting good quarterbacks in this league. Would Duck, whoever it is, who knows? But no, obviously, you look forward to those big matchups, right? I mean, you look at Joe Flacco versus Ben back, and then as much as I hated Flacco, you respected the Ravens and respected his game. So you hope that Joe Burrow can come back from this, but man, it does raise some questions. And Ace, you talked about it, right? How are you not investing more? If you're going to put yourself in this franchise around this quarterback, and you're not going to invest in the offensive line as much, and I know they had Jonah Williams coming back, and they probably felt really good about, hey, Jonah's going to be our left tackle for a while. Suafilo was, I'm sure they felt like, hey, he could be a nice piece here and there. And they had some young up and comers like Fred Johnson, but this does raise a lot of questions about that. And then it raises questions about play calling as well, because they put this entire offense on Joe Burrow. When you're putting him back there 50 times a game, knowing the offensive line has a bunch of problems, that's got to raise some question marks too. So obviously, hindsight 2020, now we know that all of that led to this moment. But I think there has to be some soul searching there in Cincinnati about how this came to be.
Yeah, it's again, it's a bungling of the situation. Sonny, any thoughts?
Yeah, so a couple of things that I have here, because I have some notes of the game, but two things I will mention. First, for the people that don't know how good Burrow is, go watch the 10 attempts the Finley went. He went 3 for 10, I think it was. They're all horrible. Even the completions weren't great.
Well, he's not an NFL quarterback.
No. So second, even more important is we've seen how good quarterbacks get their career ruined because of bad O-line. I think I'm very big on trenches, both on defense and offense. Think about as recent as Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck did make some playoffs, but his career was cut short. When they finally said, let's invest in O-line, he was crippled, right? Denver was the last one to break him. So they need to invest in O-line. This is one of the reasons that, Tony, you said, like, oh, he might not be ready for week 1. If you're a Bengals fan, guys, good. Don't try him out until he's completely healthy. He's your future. Even if he has to take half of the year next year, right? I'm not saying this because, I don't want him to play. I'm just saying if he is your future, half a year next year is nothing compared to the future. You need to this year. I know O-line is not a sexy pick, but that's the pick you need to pick. Look, this is the same thing that I told. So I have a buddy of mine that is an Eagles fan, and we were chatting while the Browns and Eagles game was, and he was like, man, the Browns are getting pressure. They don't even have Myles Garrett. I'm like, yo, because instead of Rieger, and the guy likes Rieger, you should have gotten an O-line. And I will say the same thing for the Bengals. Higgins has played great. This is no indictment on Higgins, but that pick should have either been to trade up and get a better O-line or get an O-line in that position. But you have to, as soon as you have your quarterback, receivers are nice, tight ends are nice. But you know what? In this league, if you have a great O-line, receivers tend to get open because corners cannot hold, right? So O-line is critical, and then you build from there. If your offense should be quarterback, number one, O-line, and then you start building your sexy pieces around that.
Offensive line is sexy to me as a Bengals fan. It's very sexy to me right now.
But like, for example, in the off season, I go watch a lot of film in O-line, and I used to do a Nubo, and I said like, this is the guy. I like this guy. This is what I see. Blah blah. People usually like, I don't care. Tell me about the receivers. Tell me about the tight ends, Freddie Mac, and all that. Guys, O-line, if you're a Bengal fan, you need the jersey on Jonah Williams. I like him. But from Jonah Williams, if you take Jonah Williams out from left guard to right tackle, you need 4 positions right there. You literally need left guard to right tackle. Jonah Williams, we'll see with him, but from left guard to right tackle, that's a lot of picks. So you need to go in the offseason, whatever the cap money you have. Bengals probably should be one of the highest cap teams. Invest in O-line and draft O-line and build that team in the trenches.
Yeah, they should do that. Will they do that? I don't know. It seems like they're really hesitant to spend that money on the offensive line, and when they do, they make terrible decisions, like giving Bobby Hart an extension. One of the things that Bobby Hart, by the way, who's not even starting, but for a bad offensive line. But one of the things I see that really is disheartening, if I were a Bengals fan, is I've said a long time how this situation is very similar to Deshaun Watson's in Houston, where Deshaun Watson, he even tore his ACL in his rookie year. It wasn't as bad as a tear as what Joe Burrow had, but it was still, a catastrophic injury. We know he's had the offensive line issues. And the thing that really is scary about that situation isn't just the injuries, isn't just the bad offensive line. It's that they let the Texans talk themselves into Deshaun Watson's success being somehow related to the quote-unquote offensive head coach that they had at the time in Bill O'Brien, and that enabling them to keep a bad situation around that was not good for the development of Deshaun Watson. And you look at the same thing here. It looks like the route Cincinnati's really trying to take here, and I'll get to the super chat in 1 second, but it looks like the route Cincinnati's really trying to take here is that, hey, Zach's really helped Joe Burrow in his rookie year, and that's why Joe Burrow's having this great rookie year. When we knew it was Joe Burrow, but now they're going to give Zach the credit, and Zach's going to stick around way too long, and I hope it doesn't have the same dire consequences that it did for Bill O'Brien. But we have a super chat here from Evan, who says, what position should each team take with the first selection? I think we know where Ace is at on that thing, but can you just confirm it for us?
Offensive line.
Yeah.
All right.
I was looking at their free agency this year, the Bengals. They spent and I did some quick math here on Wikipedia. Spent $115 million in free agency this year, $9 million to Zuafilo. That's the only player that they signed in free agency on the offensive line. $115 million, 9 of it to the offensive line to one player. Not great. Not great.
The offensive line used to be good too. Back in the guys that let go are still good. Tyler's still good. What's the guy? He was in LA. Andrew Whitworth, still good. Yeah, imagine Whitworth with Jonah Williams, with Kevin Zeitler, and then you add to it. Now you got a line. You got a team right there. Yeah. But mismanaged the whole fumbled the bag, as they say. Tony, what would you? Because that's an interesting question. What would you want the Steelers to draft first?
Well, I mean, obviously, if Ben retires, then obviously quarterback, right? But assuming that Ben never retires, we're good on quarterback forever. So at that point, I think offensive line, you have to figure Villanueva is going to be going to retire after this, or not retire, but he's going to go on. And then maybe slot corner could be another option there. If Cam Sutton and Mike Hilton both leave, I think slot corner could be another option. But I would imagine offensive line is coming this year, especially considering Filer and Villanueva are free agents.
You're just disgusting. You guys got no needs. What about the Ravens?
We need a good backup. We need a good backup here and there. You know what I'm saying?
So for the Ravens, this is like every year.
Quarterback.
No, not quarterback. But I think for the Ravens specifically, it's either outside rusher or wide receiver. I think it's either one of those two positions right now. We essentially need a younger version of Des Bryant, right? That build, or T. Higgins. That's the type of receivers that the Ravens need, or a good pass rusher, because all our outside rushers are free agents this year, so it's one of those.
That's true. Yeah, both
Yeah,
Judon
you guys
and
are. We'll get to your
Judon,
situation in a few
that.
minutes, but yeah, we'll get to your situation in a few minutes. The deeper cap, you guys are in some might be in some trouble going forward when it comes to restructuring the cap and keeping all these guys here. Obviously, for the Browns, I think they're probably going to go safety or defensive line. I think that's the only two places you need to spend high resources at. Everywhere else, you got Odell coming back. If you don't want to keep Odell, you can trade him, still get a wide receiver in the second, third round. I'm not a fan of that, but that's some goofy stuff that analytics might tell them to do.
Yeah, Ogunjobi's up this year, right? So interior offense or defensive line might be the right spot.
Yeah, just for the love of God, just sign a bunch of interior defensive linemen. I mean, look, we'll get to the Browns game in a second.
Yeah.
Well, actually, let's talk about the Steelers game because I want to toot my own horn. Ever since
you go
I've
first on this one. Hey, no,
10.
you're Steeler whisperer. Listen. You want this
Ever
first?
since I've given up on 6-10 for the Steelers, I have been like super correct on them. I told you last week that this would be the Steelers' first big blowout win, and lo and behold, it happened. It was 27.
I think I don't know if you've you've just like completely forgotten Steelers Browns, but that.
Well, I mean, this Steelers' first big blowout win since then.
Okay.
Yeah, since I've given up the 6-10. That's when I gave up 6-10 is when you blew out the
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bengals game was also pretty bad as well. But
yeah, it was bad. We knew that one coming. But yeah, it was the one where people were like, "Oh yeah, the Steelers are gonna keep it close." Nah. I gotta hold on that one. They weren't gonna keep it close with the damn Jaguars. So yeah, and that is what it is. Mika Fitzpatrick, had a good day. Got an interception. Ben's still good. Steelers are good. Steelers are undefeated. They're really good. What you gonna do?
Right.
I really don't have anything else to say. I didn't watch the game super closely because I just figured, this wasn't going to be worth some in-depth analysis.
Yeah. It was one to miss. Yeah, it was one to miss for sure. I mean, I will say this for Tomlin. He's up to 2-10 now in these games where he's favored by 10 or more on the road against a bad team. It did start though. I will say this, like as a Steeler fan watching this game, I think every Steeler fan knows like this game started, and you're like, are we doing this? Because the Jaguars went right down, got a field goal. The Steelers get a miss a field goal. Then you felt like, oh, okay, I've seen this one. Here we go. We're gonna do the Cowboys game again, but it didn't. It turned around. Thank goodness. By the way, thank goodness. Just as a Steeler fan, thank goodness this year for having back-to-back, quote unquote normal games where just blow out bad teams. Because boy, this Steeler team has played some. They have played some crazy games down the stretch. This game turnovers were the big thing in this game. 4 turnovers for the defense. Luton was terrible outside of that first drive. And, offensively, I mean, this game, I've seen it on Twitter. This game described as the Steelers kind of slept walk through this one a little bit. Did kind of feel that way. One thing to note is that, Ben and the offense were out of sync a little bit in the first half. They weren't moving the ball efficiently. In fact, pretty much throughout the entire game. The one thing to note, though, is it's not opponent related. The Steelers' offense at times just gets a little out of sync. And it's timing issues, it's drop passes. Ben was off a little bit at parts of this game. He had a dumb interception in this one. I think it was at the end of the first half. A deep ball. But I do want to point out, I do want to shout out Chase Claypool, because Chase Claypool has been a monster this year. I haven't talked about him enough here on this show. He's a touchdown machine. I think he has 10 touchdowns now in 10 weeks. He was the perfect player in the perfect moments. I always say, trust the Steelers when it comes to drafting wide receivers. I doubted the pick. I said, hey, I don't know about this guy coming out of Notre Dame. He's got the size and speed, but I look at the tape and I don't see it. Well, the Steelers were right and I was wrong as usual. And he's the deep threat that they needed, right? And he can do some stuff over the middle. He's got the end arounds and everything, but where he has been best is those deep shots to Ben. And then you look on the defensive side. I mean, like I said, the turnovers, the domination defensively was all about the 4 interceptions. The Steelers now have 21 total takeaways. That's number 1 in the league. Number 2 is Tampa Bay. They have 19. Tampa's played a game more than the Steelers. Tampa has not had their bye week yet. So the Steelers have 2 more takeaways and have played 1 less game. And I want to shout out here on the defensive side, Terrell Edmonds, who has been really the most improved player defensively for the Steelers. I talked about this when we did our safety thing. I said, look, I know Edmonds gets a bad rap, but he is only 23 years old. That's the same age as Joe Burrow. But this is Terrell Edmonds' 3rd year as a pro. So there is time for him still to grow as a player. And he's been greatly improved in coverage here. Been terrific in coverage. And the second interception that he had in this game is the one that the Steeler fans want to see from him, which is this guy who was a freak athlete in college, and you want to see him make spectacular plays with that athleticism in coverage. He did that in this game, and he's really improved in coverage. Always been a good tackler and good in run defense, but improving in coverage is where he needed to be. And it's why this team has been, I think, so consistent defensively week to week. When even though we've seen games where Nelson might have a bad game, or Hayden's not playing at the level, but generally speaking, you're going to see Minka have good plays, Edmonds, and just stability from that secondary group.
Yep, we're going to get to a super chat here, but just to tell you all you need to know about how the Steelers felt about this game. This kind of week you could just like plan a wedding around. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
When you wasn't
Hey, we miss it.
Yeah, I mean, like, hey, we catch it if we catch it. All right, this super chat comes from Rex Fortune, who says, I hope Joe Burrow doesn't end up like David Carr. Jags are so beat up. The Browns should be able to control time of possession. Maybe Baker can be like week 7 again. Oh, is that when we played the Bengals?
Yeah, must have been.
Yeah, hopefully the weather's good. He hasn't had a good weather game in like a month. So hopefully he can get some decent conditions. But yeah, anybody else have thoughts on this Steelers game here?
I mean, this was a scrimmage, right? I'm just surprised that you didn't mention your boy Deontay Johnson, because he went off. He went off.
It was a quiet 114. If you can put up a quiet 114. It was a quiet.
You mentioned Claypool, I think, had 4 catches. Yeah. Johnson had like 14, right? Yeah. But anyway, this
I talk about Deontay a lot, though.
Look, I started watching this game, and it was a boring game, right? It was a very boring game. I couldn't sit through it. I think I watched like a quarter, and I was like, okay, I'm done with this shit. I don't need to watch anymore. I'm done. So yeah, I mean, the Steelers did what they needed to do, and they took the W. Which sucks because they got a bye week before they played us.
Well, it's not really a bye week though, because Juju and Hayden both went down in this game. I don't know if you guys saw how Juju rolled his ankle. He rolled his ankle because the ref threw the flag as he was walking, and he didn't see it, and Juju steps on the flag awkwardly and rolls his ankle. Yeah, it's like, and that's the again, we talk about stupid games.
After we have about injuries, and we have 14 players on COVID.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Ravens are dealing with some stuff. I will agree with you on that, but losing Juju, not great.
I think for me, it was what we expected, right? A blowout win for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Started off, I think, the Jaguars went up 3-0 or something like that.
Right down the field, bang, bang, bang.
Then it was just like boom, boom, boom. All right, we're actually going to play football now. I think the biggest thing that I took out of this game is that James Conner is very much still alive, because I think in recent weeks we were kind of like, all right, James Conner, he just doesn't have it anymore. That he's not the guy. But obviously in this game, 13 carries for 89 yards, 6.8 yards per carry. That's pretty good for James Conner. I don't know if it came on a long run itself, but either way, that's pretty good for him. Obviously, we talked about Deontay Johnson. These Steelers receivers, they're stacked. Claypool, Deontay Johnson, Washington, Eric Ebron. I got him on my fantasy team, unfortunately, but we got to do what we got to do. But Eric Ebron is still getting his TDs and stuff. And the Steelers are just looking good. They took care of business. Very interested and intrigued to see what's going to happen in this matchup against the Ravens. But obviously, there's nothing bad you can really say about this team. And then you talk about on defense, all those turnovers that they're able to get. They just really have thrived in that department this year, as Tony has said. So, Steelers, good team.
Definitely. Got us another super chat here from Rex Fortune, who says if the Ravens lose Thursday, they cannot win the AFC North. If that game happens Thursday. Yeah, I'm about to say AFC North ain't in. If it ain't in reach for Cleveland, it definitely ain't in reach for Baltimore at this point.
Still in reach for Cleveland. I mean, they got an outside chance.
Stop it. It ain't.
Stop it.
The Steelers 4 is 14-2. The Browns already
They're mathematically in it. They play them again. I mean, they're still in it.
Yes, the Bengals are still in the playoff hunt too, as well. You know what I mean?
All right, now you're going a bit far.
Ryan Finley.
Hey, Ryan Finley, he might be able to do it.
Man,
speaking of the Browns, Browns won this week. And you know what? I'm going to let everybody else talk before I go on this one. Mr. Puke Tobin, I would like to.
Yes, I should have. I was thinking about this one. I should have just stuck with my gut, because if I would have, then I would have correctly picked all 4 games. But since I decided to change, that messed it up. But the Browns did what the Browns should have done. They came out, ran the ball, dominated, got turnovers, got to the quarterback, it seems, even without Myles Garrett. Browns just took care of business. They're a good team, 7-3. I think that they're gonna be the second place team. I'm sorry, Sonny, not to get too far ahead. I think the Browns are gonna be the second place team. I'm sorry, in this division. They're doing it without OBJ. They're recommitting to that run, making sure that they utilize this team well. And that's what they're doing. They're just playing well. Now, obviously, Denzel Ward had something going on, but I think he'll be back. So I think the Browns are fine. They're doing what people kind of imagined them to do last season. So I think that they're on track to finish the season well and finish the season strong.
Sonny.
Look, this game was a game that since Chubb came in, we've seen Baker clean the turnovers, so no turnovers again. He was efficient, in my opinion, for what I saw from the game, and run the ball. Chubb has been a monster since he came back, right? Another 100+ game. Chubb definitely is in the conversation, top 3 running back in the league. But what surprised me, because I picked the Browns, right? And I said, like, the Browns are going to win pretty comfortably. I think it was me and Quincy that picked the Browns. But I'd say I had my doubts when I saw that Myles Garrett was not going to play. I was like, ooh, this is a knock, right? And then the defense comes and balls out, right? The defense comes and steps up. So if the defense, when I was watching the game, defense was stepping up, I was like, ooh, man, this is game. Because Philly's hope was defense without Myles Garrett. Now we can move the ball and maybe we can make it a shootout, right? But Cleveland controlled the line of scrimmage on offense and controlled the line of scrimmage on defense. So at that point, it was game. Again, Baker did what he needed to do. What I saw, he had a good game, clean game. And I think if Baker moving forward has those type of games, clean game, and the running attack keeps producing as they are, they're going to be a very hard team to beat. So the Cleveland Browns, I was going to say the Cavaliers, the Cleveland Browns, they did their thing, and they took a Philly team that I thought that Cleveland was superior. I think somebody said that this is the only winnable game that Philly had. I never thought that this was a winnable game for Philly. This was a bad matchup for the Eagles, and Cleveland went in there and did what they needed to do.
Hey, Tony.
Nick Chubb, this is going to be a weird comparison, but Nick Chubb reminds me of Barry Sanders. So I don't know if you guys remember, Barry Sanders used to get criticized or whatever, what critics there were. What critics there were, Barry Sanders would say, well, Barry Sanders has too many negative runs or 0-yard carries, but then he'll break off a big one. Right. And and you look at Nick Chubb again and another week in a row, I'll be like, he was a little stat patty, right? Because he had 114, yes, but he had a 54-yard run. So the other 19 carries he had, we only had 60 yards, 3 yards per carry. But it just so happens that 54-yard run led to the touchdown drive. They got him to the 7-yard line, which led to the touchdown, which made it a 2-point lead to a 9-point lead. Pretty big play in the game. So a nice time for him to break off one of his signature big runs. I look back at my prediction on this game, and you guys know the Nick Young meme where he's just like, what? That's me thinking about my prediction of this game last week when I said on this very show, I don't know how the Bengals are going to get turnovers on Carson Wentz and the Eagles offense. What? The Carson, no one, Carson Wentz and the Eagles offense is like Walter White in Breaking Bad. No one stops these turnovers. No one. There's nothing that they can come across that will stop.
I'm the turnover now.
Yeah, exactly. Say my turnover. Yeah, I mean this is this Eagles offense is terrible. They turn the ball over, multiple times every single game. And I know and no Myles Garrett. I thought, and I was so happy with my prediction before the game because no Myles Garrett. They're definitely not getting turnovers now. No, I mean it's Carson Wentz. I think this puts the Browns securely in the playoffs. 7-3. You're not going to go from 7-3 in the AFC to missing at this point, especially considering some of the teams that the Browns have left. And I look at this stretch. This is such an impressive stretch for the Browns. Because you looked at Raiders, Texans, Eagles, those 3 games, and you said that has 1-2 or 0-3 written all over it for for what we've seen out of the Browns in the past. They were 2-1 in that stretch. Pretty impressive run. And so I think, and that's why I think this team is, again, we can look at the rest of their schedule and say, oh, they could drop a stupid one against the Jaguars or a stupid one against the Jets or Giants, but they won't. And they're going to win 10 games. All they have to do is split with either Ravens, Titans, and they're in. So I think this team is a playoff team for sure. I think at this point, I'd almost guarantee it.
I don't want to go that far. The Browns once we're at 7-4 at this point in the season and in first place in the AFC and found a way to bungle that one up with Johnny Manziel. Now, there's no Johnny football on this team, but there's a lot of reasons to be excited about what happened in this game. First of all, for those who have been watching closely, last 3 games for Baker Mayfield, last 4 games, if you definitely include the Cincinnati game, he's been much better. It doesn't show up on the stat sheet all the time. I know he hasn't had the interceptions. That's the one thing that does show up on the stat sheet. But when you're watching him, the biggest concern that I've had about and my biggest complaint about Baker Mayfield was his willingness to leave clean pockets and how that leaves plays on the field when he does that. He has not been doing that the last 4 weeks. That's the one bad habit that he's really cleaned up. If you watch him, his pocket mechanics are more competent. He stepped up, and this week was a big test for him because I was like, okay, the pocket's not going to be clean. This pass rush for Philadelphia is really good. You're going to see some dirty pockets. Are those same mechanics going to hold up? Are those same habits going to hold up? Or are you going to go back to the old Baker Mayfield, run out, throw across your body, and throw a pick? And he did not resort to that. He stepped up. He made some big plays. And look, Baker has not had big yardage. Now, 40-mile-per-hour winds and sleet and hail have had a lot to do with that. There was rain here, but the winds weren't crazy, so I think he was able to do a little bit more through the air. The miss in the red zone is inexcusable no matter what the elements are. He had to make that throw. He did not. It's uncharacteristic for him in the red zone specifically, where he does hit most of the time. But for Baker, what I saw was, hey, you're back on your 2-yard line, 3rd and 12. You make a big play to Kadarius Hodge here. You make some big play action throws to Kadarius Hodge on the sideline. You find Rashard Higgins, on some 3rd and longs here, and you make those plays. So yeah, the yardage isn't incredible, but when he's asked to get it, right, is a lot of situations where the running game wasn't going. It's 3rd and 12. They know you're going to throw it, and we need Baker to come up with a big play, and he's coming through with that. And that's that's what you need out of your quarterback, right? That's what the Steelers need out of Ben if they're going to run a run-heavy system, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, when it's 3rd and 12, bail is out, Ben. That's what Baker's been able to do the last few weeks. And I think once this weather gets better, and I don't know if it's going to get better in Cleveland necessarily because it is getting into that time of the year, but sometimes it gets bad, sometimes it doesn't. But if the weather gets better or if he doesn't have to play in the elements, I'm really interested to see how he will play because his level of play since Cincinnati has been up. I mean, you look at his PFF grades, he hasn't been under 60 since that game there where he had like the 90 PFF score. He had like a 70 for this week, I believe. So Baker, he's been playing much better. The offense has not been playing as good as Baker has, which is a weird thing to say on a play-to-play basis. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, they didn't get things going. They got stopped a lot early. Kareem Hunt had negative yards for most of the game. But the thing with the Browns running game is much like what Derrick Henry does in Tennessee is that by the time you get to the 4th quarter, you're just tired of tackling them. And that's where if they have a lead, they can bring out what we call Mariano Rivera here, right, the closer, to close this thing out. And it's a wrap. 5 minutes left in the 4th quarter. The Browns can run that ball better than anybody in the NFL. Maybe the Titans excluded from that, but and they can wear you down that way, and that's the secret the Browns have. The thing I think is going to be key for the Browns is this defense, and Denzel Ward being out for a couple weeks is going to be a big blow because he was phenomenal this week against what Travis Fulgham, whatever, or Alshon Jeffrey, whoever he was guarding. He was phenomenal on. But the defense is playing at a 20 to 15 level, right? I'm not going to say they're anywhere in the top 15 of the league, but they're in 15 to 20 range right now. If they can play at that level and the offense can get back to scoring 30 points a game, you have a team with a real shot at making some noise in the playoffs and getting hot at the right time. Is that going to happen? Are these two things going to sync up? We'll find out because they're going to have to sync up to beat Tennessee. Even in Baltimore, you're going to have to sync up to do that. And even Pittsburgh, if they don't play Mason Rudolph, you're going to have to be on sync to do that against them as well. So if the Browns want to finish the season out strong and potentially, finish it out somewhere in that 12-4, 13-3, 11-5 range, they're going to have to get both of those things together. And if they do, they could be a team that could be real, they could be the 5th or 6th seed from hell for a division winner this year. Because I don't know, Cleveland might not be a team you want to play in the first round this year. So if they can get those two things together and show up against big teams, they have to test against Tennessee, they have to test against Baltimore, and then even if they play Pittsburgh, if that game matters, they'll have a test there. Yeah. But that's the big question for the Browns. But as for now, you got to win the games that are on the schedule. You got to beat Jacksonville. You got to beat Philly. And I think this was the harder game of the two, the game that could have been a trap game of the two with Jacksonville and Philly, because I felt like Philly actually matched up well with the Browns and caused some unique problems. But, Carson Wentz did his thing. And
he showed up.
Yeah. And again, what I said about Carson Wentz is he throws a lot of interceptions in the middle of the field. Now, he did not throw any interceptions in the middle of the field. He just threw a pick 6 to the edge because he got tipped by Denzel Ward, and then he was foolish enough to throw to Denzel Ward in the red zone, which was just a goofy decision by him. But he's Carson Wentz. Is kind of what he does at this point. So good win for the Browns. Still a lot of things to pick up on. Now we're gonna move to something.
Oh wait, hold on. Before we do, I got two things. One, first of all, we have 300 people watching us right now, so thank you to everyone who's watching. However, we only have like 75 likes, so we're gonna need to get that over 100. Come on.
Hold on, wait. 75?
We have 75 likes. Yeah, and we have 300 people watching. Come on,
guys. I know a lot of you guys were watching the live stream, my post-game live stream on Sunday, and we got that thing over 1,000 likes. So we got to get this to at least 300 people. We can get it to 400. Let's get it to 400 by the end of this stream. Let's get it there because it really does help the channel out, helps us get recommended. And then make sure you share this out with your friends so to let them know what you watch and let them join this stream too. Don't be selfish. It's Thanksgiving. Give it all. Before we get into that, and also if you're not, subscribe because we're about 100 subscribers or 200 subscribers away from 2,000. We better do that. We got to subscribe. Y'all better hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, do those things, and then ding that notification bell so you don't miss us because Thursday we might be coming at a different time. So check that out there. But now,
the main event.
Let's talk about and Sonny, you know what?
I was like, he's taking his shirt off again. Taking his shirt off.
I was like, Sonny, don't take your shirt off. But you know what? We're going to make this as tough on Sonny as possible because Sonny, you're going to go last. You're going to have to hear all the slander. You got to hear all the slander. All of it. Because the Titans beat them. The Ravens in the most, by the way, when I saw how y'all lost this game, because I was watching the Browns game, I clicked back and once it was on Game Pass, I watched y'all game. And when I saw how this ended, I was like, oh, that sucks. Yeah. That's rough. That guy, that way. And look, I felt some sympathy and some empathy here with both Ace and Sonny, who are in the loser half of the screen right here at the top half here. Because I've been in both places, right? Where the future of your team, I think Myles Garrett got hurt when the year they went 0-16. I was like, oh man, I ain't got no reason to watch the damn game. Deshaun Kaiser. I've been there. Except for we went 0-16, so it was a little bit rougher, but it wasn't our franchise quarterback that went down, so that might be even worse for the future. And I've been where the Ravens are, where it's like, yo, it's just straight disappointment. That's 2019 all over again, where I was like, they could win 8 straight, and they just losing every national TV game that they get. But I'm not going to give my full thoughts on this yet. I'm going to let Tony jump in on this slander because winners go first on this show. Tony, tell me what you thought about this game, man.
All right. I know I've been very critical of Lamar the last couple weeks. I'm pointing nothing at Lamar this week. I will say this though, this Tennessee-Baltimore game, because I predicted Baltimore to win. I said, look, I think Lamar's going to have a good game, and I think that, Tennessee has no defense, and Lamar should be able to put up big points, and this one should be over. And it looked like that was going to be the case. This game was 21-10, and the Ravens had the ball driving, and it felt like they were going to put this one away. Big Lamar game, just what they needed, and then go roll that right into the Steeler game on Thanksgiving. And the interception to Duvernay, I think that's the turning point in the game. And again, I'm not saying that's Lamar's fault. Obviously, he's trying to throw a deep ball. It's not on Lamar. Just bad timing on an arm punt. Because boy, if you put it in there for even 3, it's a 14-point game. Maybe you have a different outcome there. And certainly if you put it in for a touchdown, the game is over at that point. Instead, the Titans score on the next 2 drives. They tie the game up. The Ravens did manage a field goal at the end. I will give Lamar this. He had some very nice throws to Mark Andrews in this game. And he, for all the crap we give him up, the accuracy and whatnot, big throws and big moments, he actually did at times in this game have some big throws into big ones. I was honestly impressed with Lamar for parts of this game. The problem for the Ravens right now, first of all, we talk about, do teams fear Lamar? No. And the Titans don't even respect. They don't respect the Ravens at all. That whole going to the midfield thing at the beginning of the game, and then Harbaugh comes out again. They don't respect. The Titans just don't respect the Ravens. And the idea of can't win big games. Baltimore can't win big games. It's almost becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's not a Lamar Jackson problem. This is becoming a Baltimore Raven problem. They can't get out of their own way in these situations. The players are buying into this idea that when we get into these big moments in big games, who's it going to be? Who's stepping up in this moment? Because it's not going to be me. I mean, the AJ Brown touchdown, inexcusable. It is an inexcusable play. It's I believe that was 3rd and 10. They had him stop 2 yards short of the first down, and he goes in for the touchdown. Inexcusable. And then the touchdown in overtime. Again, no one wanted to tackle Derrick Henry, and that came after a bad sack Lamar took. And it was bad. First of all, it was bad protection by the offensive line, and then Lamar took the sack. This is not a Lamar Jackson problem. This is an entire Baltimore Raven problem. They can't get out of their own way in these situations, and it leaves them in a spot now where it is a must win for them on Thursday night against the Steelers. We don't know what's happening with them as far as the whole situation, with the list and whatnot, and who's on the list and who's not. But I think this team can't afford to lose 3 straight, and then we're going to bounce back because we play all these bad teams. I don't know what I'm watching from this Ravens team. I don't know who they're going to lose to and who they're going to beat. I think they have to bounce back at this point, and I don't know who's going to be the leader of that. Because again, I don't, me, how I feel about Lamar in those situations. So I don't know if it's going to be a Lamar Jackson thing. But this was a terrible loss and a terrible moment.
Yeah, we got a couple pair of super chats here from the trip.
Yeah.
Said scared for Burrow, praying for my guy. Ravens got chemistry problems on offense and defense. They got a toughness problem on defense as well. Yeah. Get right game on Thursday. We'll see about that. Defensive coordinators around the league fear Lamar. The 8-man box shows that they don't fear the passing offense of the Ravens, and they shouldn't. That's what I mean.
That's part of the problem. Yeah. They fear one thing.
And look, I'll jump in on this, right? Here's the problem. Well, the Ravens have multiple problems just stacking up on each other. One, they're just not healthy, right? Like they can't get anybody on the field. Like, I think if they were healthy, they would have beaten Tennessee. So I don't want to give too much slander, act like they're a terrible team or something like that. They're just not healthy. They don't have things going right. And, the motivation on this team, it really does feel like a team that went 14-2 last year and spent the whole offseason talking about how great they are. It does not feel like a team that felt like they have something to prove because, my goodness, how could you let Tennessee do this to you at home again? You know what I mean? Disrespectful as they are, and Tennessee's a very disrespectful team, quite frankly. We're going to get to my guy, Ultimate Sports TV, who says, is Baker more clutch than Lamar? Game-winning drives for Baker. Oh, come on. Come on, Malik. We ain't going to do this one. We ain't going to have this argument yet.
That's a great argument. Let's start.
I mean, look, man, I ain't going to do it yet. We're going to wait till the end of the season, but it is out there, right, with the game-winning drives. Baker has had a couple. Lamar hasn't had one. Well, I'll argue it. Baker's only really had one true game-winning drive where he's made a ton of plays, and that was in Cincinnati. The one in Buffalo was like, you know what I mean?
Who's better right now, Burrow on one knee or Lamar Jackson?
No. Let's not do it. Let's not do it. But, yeah, the Ravens' problem is, one, they aren't healthy, and two, this roster was structured very flawed. You look at where Lamar Jackson was great. Mark Andrews almost had 100 yards, was really, really good. You look where they were awful. Let's read some of these because Trip, by the way, I'm going to get to Trip Super Chat. Why do I have more faith in Dez than any other wide receiver? What about you, Sonny? Talking about anybody over Dez on this team. Also, when are we getting healthy? Sonny, I'll let you get to that after we slander this team a little bit more. But let's look at the wide receiver numbers for this Ravens team, right? Because Mark Andrews, big game, right? Look like the Travis Kelce, a clone that he is. But everybody else, Dez Bryant was the leading receiver. The man was on the practice squad last week. He was the leading receiver with 28 yards, by the way. 28 yards. 28 yards.
Give me a second. Did you guys saw any of the completions to Dez?
I saw the one at the end of the game where he got both those 28 yards. Yeah, but
they were all the same. He was standing wide, and the receiver or the corner was giving like 20-yard cushion. I don't know. I mean, it was so absurd, like 10-yard cushion. So Lamar was like, just throw it there, and he just ran for 6, 7, or 8 yards. That was it. The only time that he ran a dragger, the Lamar threw a great ball, he dropped it. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, because he had to play football.
He did drop that one. It was early. It's the first third down of the game, right? He dropped it.
Yeah, he hasn't played football in forever. Willie Snead's still your best receiver, and he had 3 receptions, 23 yards. And then if you go way down, you can see the young wide receivers here. Devin Duvernay, 1 reception, 5 yards, which is bad. But, the guy who you drafted number 1 in the first round a couple of years ago, the Tyreek Hill clone, 0 receptions, 0 yards, did not really have an impact on the game because he's just not playing because he's not playing well.
Yeah.
Maybe he could go and return some punch. You can get some value out of him that way. I don't know what you do with Hollywood Brown at this point. It's the same situation as John Ross, except for John Ross at least was injured. You know what I mean?
Same stats last week.
John Ross is at least in the doghouse. honestly, I don't know who would have a better game. If John Ross were on the Cleveland Browns like I wanted him to do, I feel like John Ross would be eating right now because I think John Ross can play a little bit. He showed more than Marquise Brown has.
Should have traded for Moncrief is what they should have done. But
they should have been. Moncrief would have had more yards. Right? So that's the problem for the Ravens. They focus this whole thing on their young wide receivers, and they're getting 5 yards out of their young wide receivers in a big game. People told me all the week coming into this game, hey, Marquise had a big game against Tennessee. He's gonna step it up. This is gonna be no, he didn't even play that much. Like it is what it is with Marquise Brown. I tried to tell y'all he's not that good of a receiver, and y'all not putting him in the right position to succeed, and that's what's happening. I think he can go somewhere else and be fine, but he's just not in the right position to succeed there. They don't put their players in the right position. Why didn't they run the ball more with J.K. Dobbins? That was working. You know, why didn't they throw the ball to J.K. Dobbins more often? Because who are you trying to get these targets to? Quite honestly, other than Mark Andrews, who are you trying to get these targets to?
I didn't think their offense was that bad until the fourth quarter, though. I thought for 3 quarters offensively, they were okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? They had like DJ.
Because they were doing but when it gets down to crunch, when they need to move the ball fast, this is why the Ravens have the reputation of a team that can't come back from a lead. It's because they cannot, for the life of them, rely on their wide receivers. They can't. If it's not Mark Andrews getting forgotten up the seam, they will not get a chunk play. If it's not J.K. Dobbins running the ball or Lamar running the ball, they will not get a chunk play. And running the ball in 2-minute offense, that just ain't going to work at the end of the day.
Discipline is a big problem for them. Discipline is a big problem for this team too. I mean, they had that sequence. I think it was before the Titans took the lead, where it was like 2nd and 9. They thought they got the first down. They challenged it. They lost a timeout on the play. Then they got a false start on the very next snap. And it went from 3rd and 1 to like 3rd and 5, and they threw an incomplete pass. And that kind of thing just cannot happen. You know, a big game like this.
Same thing. I mean, just to interrupt Tony, but same thing on the last drive for the Titans. We stopped them, and we get roughing the passer, which I thought was a bad call, and then we get some stupid penalty, which was the right call, also on a 4th down. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. And then like you think about like they had the sack fumble on Tannehill and then the next play is the 3rd and 10, the AJ Green play. I mean those again. AJ Brown. Yeah. Sorry.
All right, and here's the bigger part, the big picture thing, and why this is not good for the Baltimore Ravens, because let's remember, going into the season, they went all in. This is supposed to be a Super Bowl or bust type season for the Baltimore Ravens, and that's for a good reason. They don't have a massive window here. Things are closing in on them, and it's almost to a point to where, like, if they don't beat Pittsburgh, and like that's not likely. That's a Thursday night game, Thanksgiving game, national TV game on the road. Yeah, on the road against Pittsburgh. You know, like home teams usually don't lose their home Thursday night games, especially undefeated teams. I don't assume that if they do that, it's going to be an upset. They can do it, but it's going to be an upset. Then you're looking 6-5 in the face. And here's the problem for the Baltimore Ravens when it comes to this season. That would be 5 losses in the AFC, specifically against teams that are in the playoff race, which means those tiebreakers, none of them are going to go your way. Even if you you can go, unless they would have to beat the Browns to be able to not go like 10-6. They would have to beat the Browns on Monday night on the road, which is not an easy game for them at all, but it's a winnable game for them, definitely. I'll say that even as a Browns fan. And then have to avoid anything goofy happening, like losing to the Jaguars or losing to the Cowboys on a Thursday night or something like that. And I don't know if I could put that above this Ravens team, the way they've came out and performed in some of these weeks, especially the game they put together against a bad New England Patriots team that just lost to the Texans. So it's head-scratching for this season. If they go 10-6, it's going to be very hard for them to make the playoffs. They're going to have to rely on a lot of tiebreakers.
They can't. I've tried to do the playoff machine is out on ESPN. I've tried to get the Ravens in at 10-6. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah, because the assumption is if the Ravens go 10-6, you lost that game to the Browns, and that's 6 AFC losses, and you're done at that point, even if you go 10-6. Yeah. So even at that point, you're done there. it's an uphill battle for you already at 6-4. It's just a rough year to be 6-4. Normally, you're not out of it. Also, if you look at the long-term situation, you got both your pass rushers not coming back after this year. Well, both of your pass rushers being free agents after this year. Lamar still won that MVP. So, like, he's still going to command good money. Like, he's not going to be cheap because he had a bad year. No. So eventually you're going to have to pay him and keep that money open for him. You just gave Marlon Humphreys a big old bag of money and Marcus Peters a big old bag of money. Chuck Clark's coming up soon, I would assume, because he's still on his rookie deal. Calais Campbell, is he signed already for a couple of years?
It's this year and next year.
2 years. Yeah.
And then you have all those, like you got Ronnie Stanley who's hurt. Their offensive line has more holes than you thought it did in the middle of it, so you're going to want to do something to address that. I don't know if you're going to have a low enough pick to do that. You just got a lot of like questions about the future of this team upcoming, that this year was really supposed to be that year for the Baltimore Ravens. And the fact that it's going here and it's on the edge, like it's this close to not being able to make the playoffs type year is catastrophic for what this Ravens team was looking to build. And we can blame Greg Roman, and he definitely deserves some of the blame. We could blame Lamar Jackson, and he can definitely deserve a piece of the blame. We can blame John Harbaugh, and he definitely deserves some of the blame. We can blame Marlon Humphreys for not making a tackle, Derek Wolfe for missing the tackle at the end of the game. We can blame all these factors, but the person I blame the most is Eric DeCosta, because he put this offense in a position. He did not do the right things for this offense. I don't think he did. Now you're down to one tight end, and you're not putting Lamar in advantageous positions, and you're seeing him not look like the MVP because of the situation you surrounded him with. Because quite frankly, even if the Ravens would have lost this game with all the injuries they have, they shouldn't have lost the game against Pittsburgh. If they would have had those tight ends there, they wouldn't have lost that game against Pittsburgh. They should not be in a position where they have 4 losses already in a year for a team that's looking to contend for a Super Bowl. And all 4 of those losses are against the Super Bowl contending teams in the AFC: Pittsburgh, Tennessee, and in Kansas City. Like, those are the Super Bowl contenders. You could not beat them, and you played all of them at home. What do you do at that point if you're the Baltimore Ravens other than do a soft reset and try to rebuild this thing again, especially if you don't make the playoffs here? But, Ace, I'm going to let you get on to this, and then we'll finally let Sonny say his piece.
Sure. So I think when it comes to the Ravens, I had this game as a loss. I think in the offseason we all had it as a loss because we felt like the Titans were in the Ravens' heads. Like it clearly was trending that way, and we saw like certain things happen this season where the Ravens were in their own heads even before the Titans game. So this game, the debacle at the end of the game, the collapse, was not a surprise to me because when a team is in your head, it just eventually plays out that way. It's happened with the Bengals, with the Steelers, when we were competitive back in those older days. It's always seems to happen when a team has your number, they have your number. And spending an offseason hearing everyone talk about the playoff game, it just really makes you focus specifically on that matchup. Not a surprise to me that we saw them kind of get into it before the game. I think when the Bengals and Steelers all those years back with the Vontaze Burfict thing, we saw something similar. And obviously with this team spiraling, with the Greg Roman play calling issues, with the injuries, with just everything, the Marquise Brown stuff, it just was the wrong time for them to run into this game. It's also the wrong time for them to run into the Steelers. It's just a bad situation for them. Mark Ingram just doesn't have it anymore. And I don't know if I can't speak for you guys. I was just wondering when it was going to stop because Mark Ingram always has these times where he has these great seasons, and then he runs out of gas the next season. Marquise Brown, I don't know what's going on there. Ever since the tweet, it's just nothing. You can't pick this guy in the first round and not even catch a pass in an entire game, especially a game of this magnitude. Eric DeCosta, like Quincy said, definitely deserves some of the blame for this because the thing is, we've all known it's no secret that the Ravens need wide receivers. They still haven't done it. Des Bryant, for him to just be active this game was kind of a joke to me because he should have been active as soon as you guys signed him. It's not like there's guys there that are just keeping Des Bryant from getting snaps. I don't know if it's that he needed to learn the offense, so maybe it was that. But just from a talent standpoint, they needed to play him immediately. The run game, to me, I'm glad that they're finally getting Dobbins involved. But I think I said it earlier this season this Ravens running offense is not the same as it was last season. They're not being as effective as they were. That is what their mantra was. That is how they won so many games. They were just amazing when it came to the run. And when you look at the Browns and what they have, you would assume that it would be something like the Browns have, but with Lamar Jackson sprinkled in, and it has simply not been that. We talk about some of the good things. Yannick was able to finally get his first sack. But back to some of the bad things. One of the things I said, Marcus Peters, and I was not trying to hate on him because he's on the Ravens. This goes back to anywhere that Marcus Peters has played. He is a good corner, but he is susceptible to giving up plays. And we saw in this game again that happened. That's just part of the territory that you're going to accept from him from time to time. It just can't happen in these moments in the game as they've been happening. So from that standpoint, this is going to be tough for them. They're going to have to put it together here and try to make a run for the playoffs. Can they make it with all of these injuries? It's hard to say. They can't battle each other and implode after a game like this. This could have a recipe to do something like that and derail this team, but they're going to have to show when they come out against the Steelers, this is their season. In my opinion, this is their season. And so if they don't come out and do what they're supposed to do, it's going to be an offseason where they're going to have to answer a lot of questions. Lamar Jackson, it's all kind of tough right now in Baltimore. But I did see this playing out this way, but it's a shame that they got into their own heads and kind of let this result happen.
Definitely. Real quick, I want to get to some super chats. We got Trip who says, well, even if the injuries were on the team, the Titans-Steelers game was winnable. That's why I can say the chemistry and toughness issues, we got to get enough to win. We got to play assignment ball. Definitely correct there. Also, we're approaching 400 people watching live right now. We're at 177 likes, though. So, hey, let's do it. Let's get to that 500
I like this
number.
Trip one.
And Trip says Browns beating their chest, but their losses are worse.
We're doing that
against the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Raiders, who just beat the Raiders, who almost beat the Chiefs two times. These are terrible losses for the Cleveland Browns. Yeah,
but I do like that we're doing the BCS thing, like whose losses are who has the better losses. I like that.
I love that Raven fans, after talking all year, and not Sonny, but everybody in the chat, after talking all year about how the Browns in Week 4 won their Super Bowl, they beating their chest about that win in Week 1. Like it was their Super Bowl, aren't they?
Don't the Raiders have the same record?
The Raiders are 7-3.
Raiders 7-3
No, they're 6-4 now because they lost.
They're 6-4 with a loss to Kansas City, which is almost excusable.
Yeah, Miami's also 4 losses.
Yeah. So Miami's at 4 losses, but the Browns are 7-3, and they lost to what? The 6-4 Ravens team and 6-4.
He's saying the Ravens have lost to the Chiefs, Titans, and Steelers, who all have better record. Like
the Ravens bad.
Yeah, but they did all that at home.
They also lost to the Patriots.
Yeah, that's a bad loss.
Oh, that's a bad loss. Yeah. Okay. How did I forget that one? Anyway, we haven't let Sonny talk yet.
So let's but first let me get everybody to like that. Hit that like. We're at 200. Let's keep going there. Hit that subscribe button. We're almost at 2,000. Right. We're within 100.
Sonny can't talk until we get to 250 likes.
You gotta hit that mute button.
All right, Sonny, you can talk, but you got to promise us you're gonna keep your shirt on this time.
So this is a game that I didn't pick the Ravens, right? I said the Ravens were gonna lose. Now, as the game was progressing, I would say the Ravens should have won. Why did I pick the Ravens to lose? This offseason, the Ravens essentially said, we are scared of 2 teams, one being the Chiefs and one being the Titans. And they figure the Chiefs were going to try to beat them with the same type of speed that they have. So they got a lot of little receivers, which that pissed me off. They're fast, and then run defensive guys in the D tackle positions and the defensive line, which I loved. But the problem was those pieces that they got in the D-line, they were all injured for this game, right? So that's why I picked the Titans to win, because I figured they were going to run all over us. And plus, we didn't have depth because we have a lot of injuries. So this is why I picked the Titans. Now, how the game progressed. The game started with us going 3-and-out and they marching down the field and scoring a touchdown, which wasn't good. I was pissed off. Then the game turned for the Ravens, and the Ravens clamped down on the run and on the pass. They forced, I think the Titans basically got 2 field goals between the second and third quarter. And the defense was playing good, and the offense was moving the ball, and Lamar Jackson was having an efficient game. The pick that Lamar threw, in my opinion, wasn't a bad throw. It was okay throw. A better receiver makes a catch or at least forces an incompletion. Duvernay took a run angle, essentially stumbled, and then the corner was just there and grabbed the ball. It should have not been a pick. It should have been at worst an incompletion. And a good receiver catches that ball because he threw it. If you have a good receiver, it was inside the receiver. If he doesn't stumble, catches the ball, and you're there in the 5-yard line, I think it was, or whatever it was. It was in the red zone. So Lamar had a good game, but he also missed some throws throughout the game. Play calling, which is something the Ravens fans for some reason are obsessed with. Which again, my guys, what I will say to you is there's some bad play calling, but if we micro check every team, you will see. The Browns will have some bad play calls on offense, and the Steelers will have some bad play calls on defense. If you micro check every team, you will have play calls that are not great.
Greg Roman hate their offensive coordinator.
Yeah, Greg Roman had a really good game plan. There was a play that I love that basically Lamar ran a stretch, like he went and carried the ball like he was running, and the line moved like they were run blocking. Manders was there wide open. Lamar, it was a pass. It was a design pass. Lamar threw it late. It was an incompletion. Like what I will say for this game for the Ravens was this game was an incomplete. Let me bring a report card. Lamar Jackson for me will get a C-. Receivers get an F. Complete failure. Hollywood Brown. I said this with Newell 2 weeks ago. I said I don't know if Hollywood Brown will be in this team after this year because Hollywood Brown seems not interested in playing with this team right now. Right? He is a finesse player. We need more tougher receiver, meaning. When he catches the ball, you will think he is a yak guy. But as soon as anybody gets close to his bubble, he lays down because he doesn't want to get hit, right? And then he doesn't block because he's not a physical receiver. So that's not good. That's not the type of receiver you need. So anyway, they get an F. The O-line actually, I would say they play decently. We changed the center for the guy that played right tackle last week. And we called a guy from the practice squad that played right tackle. But we were against a bad defensive line on the Titans, so they did fairly good. So I'm not going to criticize them too much. And after that, Mandrews. The Titan is 1 grade because it's Andrews and a guy that we just brought from practice squad. He gets an A. After that, it's just C throughout. C. This is an incomplete game. The defense and the offense played good for 3 quarters. In the 4th quarter, the defense said, I'm not going to tackle. I'm tired. This is how Brown gets a touchdown. It was embarrassing. And then on the overtime, it was the same way. As soon as we punted, I was like, man, I don't know, because we just gave up a touchdown because of effort, because of tiredness, effort, whatever you want to call it. It looked like effort. It looked like they want to. Tennessee was ready. They wanted it more at that moment. The Ravens defense were maybe exhausted. They should not be exhausted. It wasn't like Tennessee controlled the line of scrimmage throughout the game. But they did have to tackle Henry a lot. I know that takes a toll on your body, but still, they had no one to. And because the rotation on the D-line wasn't there, right? Usually the Ravens, the Steelers, the Eagles, teams that have a lot of defensive line depth, they rotate, right? It's like it looks like a carousel, the D-line. We don't have that anymore. We don't have that right now. So they all look tired, and obviously happened what happened. So for me, overall, I would say Lamar did pretty good. If this Lamar would have played against the Steelers, that should have been a W, right? I will acknowledge if Lamar would have played how he played in the Tennessee Titan game, we would have won because he has been playing a little bit more efficient. Nowhere near MVP, nowhere near great either. Again, I will give him a C- for this game. I might be a little tougher than my Ravens fan guys, but the problem right now is you are asking Lamar, or you need Lamar to do more. You need Lamar almost to do MVP level play because receivers are not stepping up. The running backs are playing good. J.K. Dobbins basically said, like, I'm going to be the bell cow, giving the ball 15 times. That's a lot for a Raven running back because we basically have 4 running backs, which I hate that rotating so much running backs. But essentially, J.K. Dobbins played a really good game. Now, the problem that we have, guys, going forward, and Thursday we're going to get into it, it's not only injuries. Now we have the C list. The C list is upon us. The Ravens, for making the playoffs, have one more loss in their schedule. That's all they can have, one more loss. And if that loss counts against the NFC team, which the NFC teams that we have, they're very bad, so not likely. And we beat the rest of the AFC teams that we have, that's great. But it's probably going to be an AFC loss. And that's all you have. And could it be this Thursday? Possibly. I was reading online, we might have 16 practice squads call-ups or something like that, because there's 14 people have been positive for C.
Not all players, though. Not all
players. The rumor is there's 3 staffers and 11 players.
And I heard a rumor that one of them was Lamar. Is there any truth to that? Have you heard anything like that?
Not about that, but think about this. One of the guys that got positive test is J.K. Dobbins, who was Lamar basically with all game in that game was J.K. Dobbins.
Well, so Ingram as well, and those two are in the same room. So,
exactly. Yeah. So the big thing will be at least Lamar is probably going to get the 5A. You can't come up to. Well, that's the other thing.
Contact tracing. Then they have to delay the game. They'll delay the game if that happens.
I was going to say, the problem that the Ravens Steelers have is if they're going to put everybody to get in contact with these guys in the 5-game delay, the Ravens will not have enough players. They just won't.
Right. Steeler fans will lose their mind if they delay because of that, by the way.
They probably will. I would say that will be my guess. And if they don't, the Ravens are in severe. I mean, you're just going to see a lot of practice squad guys in this game, which is not good for the Ravens, especially with injuries.
Steelers get revenge for Week 17. Let's do it.
not making excuses for this team. For this team right now, I would say it's hard. I will finish with this. They have to play with more heart than what they have shown in the past couple of weeks. This is not like I will say what Tony said was perfect. This is not a Lamar problem. It's a general team problem. Injuries are a problem, sure, but you cannot hold your head into okay, I'm injured. No, you play hard. You have to play for your team. Yeah. Essentially, you tackle better this game, you get a W, right? That's essentially you tackle better, you're looking into a different scenario for this game. And that is just bad. That's not acceptable. And something that is not very Raven-like is the penalties. The penalties are killing this Ravens team. And usually Ravens are pretty good, well-coached team that they don't get penalties. I know we have a carousel on the offensive line, and we get a lot of right now in the offensive line, but that was not the case against Tennessee. I would say Tennessee, we were clean again in the offensive line side. So this was a disappointing loss, guys. I'm not gonna lie. When we lost, my soul got crushed. I was looking into a dark room, like staring into a wall. My wife was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "I just feel like shit." I told her like I feel sick, like physically sick. And I had a project from college. I was like, I can't do shit right now. I could not comprehend how we lost this game. It was tough for me. I want to do nothing on Twitter. I said I don't want to watch TV.
You want to swap?
Yeah.
You want to switch?
No,
We can switch.
I don't want to switch.
I don't know because Engraven and Ace were both live stream watching their games this week, and oh wow, what a week for them both to be doing such a lovely treat for the football community, because then you get to see Aces build up his anger towards his Bengals organization and the fans who have enabled it because of the tragedy that happened on Sunday, and you can see Engraven's just a reaction to that. Derrick Henry run was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. That's something you could laugh at, but Ace was just like furious. He dropped some heat, by the way, on his channel. Go subscribe to New Stripe City because he dropped some heat on his channel about Zach Taylor. If the video is vertical frame, click on it because he's dropping heat. But we got a super chat I want to get to from MXSFT TV, who says best possible playoff path for the Ravens: win out, lose to Pittsburgh, Browns beat Jacksonville, New York Giants, maybe Titans, maybe split against the Ravens. Is this for the Browns?
When you got to start going through scenarios, that's
right. That's what I'm saying. It's so difficult. If they lose a game or 2 games,
I think the Ravens can lose to Pittsburgh and make it, but they will have to win out.
They lose 2.
They can go 11-5 and make it, because I don't think they will have to worry about tiebreakers at 11-5, but if they go 10-6, they're done.
Because here's the thing.
The reality is,
go ahead.
I'm sorry. The reality is, if the Ravens go 11-5 and they lose to Steelers, right? That means they're beating the Browns, so they're bringing the Browns down with them, and the hope is essentially the Steelers lose a game, or even if they go 15-0 to the Browns and the Kansas City doesn't lose a game to go to that. So Kansas City and the Steelers, they both need to win. And the Steelers beat the Browns. So now the Browns and the Ravens are the same record, and they have the tiebreaker. The other thing, the best scenario for the Titans and the Colts play each other this week. So the thing is right now, there's going to be a lot of teams, I think, in my opinion, 11-5. And what is going to be the tiebreaker? Well, if the Browns loss consists against the Ravens and the Steelers, then the Browns will have the same amount of AFC loss of the Ravens. The Titans, I think, also will be in the same boat. And then the Raiders, let's say they have another, that's 5 teams, but there's Miami. So it's going to be a clusterfuck because they're going to have 6 teams or 5 teams at 11-5. And I think essentially everybody will have the 4 or 5 losses against the AFC. How they're going to determine that tiebreaker, I don't know. The Ravens at that point will have lost to the Titans, will have beat the Browns. But at that point, when you have 5 teams together, there's no one-on-one. I don't know. They might have to flip a coin.
Well, they'll have like a tiebreaker against the Colts, so that'll be working in their advantage. But they'll have, like you said, they'll have lost to the Titans. They'll split with the Browns. And here's the thing. Okay, let's just because again, I saw Ravens fans in chat saying this. So the only losable games left are Steelers and Browns, and I only see them losing one. Right? Okay, Ravens fans. This is again. It's like you and I watch a different football team. The idea that the Baltimore Ravens are going to lose on Thursday and then win out. Again, Ravens fans, you are living in a dream world. If you think this Ravens team is going to lose 3 straight, including getting swept by the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thanksgiving, and then just magically turn it around because, we played Dallas, so now all of a sudden we're good again. That's not how this works. This Ravens team cannot win big games. Every game from that point is going to be must-win, big game, and that Cowboys game is on Thursday night. That is in prime time.
Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
Hold on.
It's prime time. Actually, you know what? Ravens fans? That is a win.
Hold on, before we get to Misfit, pronounced Misfit, my bad, as a Browns fan. If the Ravens lose this game and the Browns beat Jacksonville, the window is going to be tight for Baltimore. Yeah, the window's going to be tight for Baltimore if they have to, if they want to comfortably make the playoffs. They can still comfortably, they can still do it at 11-5. If they do not beat the Browns and they lose to the Steelers, it's pretty much a wrap at that point for them. They can go 10-6. I don't know if they're gonna. And at that point, if you're at like 7-6, is that team? They haven't really showed a lot of like determination up to this point. So like, how are they going to come out performing for the rest of the season is also a huge question. But these are teams they can beat. It's just. They put themselves. They should not be in this position. Also, let's remember this. This is a team that's supposed to be a Super Bowl favorite. They should not be out here having to do math to make the playoffs. And I know people are trying to make the comparison to the Chiefs and how the Chiefs weren't so great last year, and how Patrick Mahomes didn't have the best winning record last year. But Patrick Mahomes was 7-3. He threw 20 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He was still Patrick Mahomes. Lamar Jackson has not been on that same level as his MVP year, and it's not really something you can explain away at this point. The Trip also says not going to be 5-11 win teams in the it's the NFL. Yeah, true.
But even if you're 10-6, you have to win the 10-6 tiebreaker, which is why you want to get to 11 wins so you guarantee yourself there. Now, I do want to compare Lamar Jackson to Patrick Mahomes for a second, because all of us who watched that Sunday night game between the Chiefs and Raiders, as soon as the Raiders scored and you looked at the clock, you said, there's like a minute and a half left for Mahomes to drive down and get a touchdown. This game is over. Chiefs win, mark it down. Don't even need to see this last drive. Okay, now let's compare that to Lamar Jackson. As soon as the Titans took this lead, did anyone in chat, did anyone watching that game actually think the Ravens were going to come back and win that one? I didn't, and I certainly think a lot of people watching it did not. That's where the Ravens are right now, and that's where the Chiefs are. The Chiefs, it's a guarantee they're going to come back and win. And for the Ravens, it's pretty much a guarantee they're not coming back to win.
Okay,
and the thing that made real quick, let me get in here before you get in, Sonny. My bad. The thing that made the Ravens real dominant last year was their ability not only to get ahead, but to hold these leads and to squeeze this clock out and to really grind them out. Kind of similar to what the Browns do in the fourth quarter, where they can close the game out with their running backs. This year, the offensive line hasn't been performing at that same level, or the offense also hasn't been executing at that same level where they can squeeze a team out. So when they get those leads, they're not building on them. They're getting more 3-and-outs. They're getting more turnovers than they used to. The offensive line just isn't as strong. Things are kind of crumbling apart because of injury, most definitely. Also because the defense has been dealing with a ton of stuff there as well. But Lamar just hasn't been put in as good as position, and he hasn't been playing well. So it's just a number of things that now in this Raven team, it used to be when the Ravens were up 10, it was over. Last year, right? If the Ravens were up 10, it was over. It's a wrap. They're going to run away with it. Now they're up 10. They're choking some of these leads out, and they can't come back to get them back. It's just a completely different team than they were in 2019.
So let me say for the Ravens, and by the way, I apologize for the F-bomb for those that you're watching.
You're good.
But
the 1 week will allow it.
But the saving grace here for the Ravens is, and then we'll see what happens with the Steelers, is assuming we can beat the Dallas Cowboys, right? And this is assuming, right? After that game, now you have 11 games before the Browns game, so you have some padding there to get a little healthier, and you should be getting Calais Campbell, you should be getting Brandon Williams, because without those two, you ain't beating Cleveland. Sorry, Ravens fans. You need your D-line to be there to beat the Cleveland Browns. So that could be the saving grace. If for some reason there's a hiccup and you lose to the boys, then it's really a wrap. There's no more. Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter if you go undefeated after that loss. That will be a wrap. So now
that's why this week I think is such a must win.
I mean, if the Ravens pull this week against the Steelers, if they do that, then you are in good shape. Meaning, obviously, you can have hiccups, but then. I mean, then you're shaping up that if you beat the Browns, right, now you're talking about 9-4, and you're in really good shape. Versus, obviously, if you lose this one, then you have to win out.
Yeah.
So that's winning this game will be huge for the Ravens. I don't think this game is a must win, but if you take an L here, every single game after this game is a must win. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I mean, you're right. You're right that it is literally a must win because you can't afford to be a 6-loss team.
But if you beat the Steelers this week, now you're looking good moving forward. Everything is set up looking good. Obviously, you can have hiccups on the way, but
yeah, it's definitely true. It's just also it's one heck of a task. I mean, Pittsburgh hasn't lost the game yet. You're playing them on the road there. We got a super chat from Trip here. He says, can't compare anybody to Patrick Mahomes. I agree with that. Lamar better than all the QBs in the draft or after. A little slander
was in that draft, so I don't know.
Easy for people. F-bomb was needed. I would argue, has Lamar been better than Josh Allen this year?
Josh Allen has been playing really good this year. Josh Allen probably from that draft class has been this year the best QB for this year, right? And then you can't say we as a Raven fan, you cannot say, well, Lamar has been playing like miles better than Baker. If anything, you can say both quarterbacks right now look limited, but Baker has been more efficient with the ball, which is translating into wins, right? That being said, also in my opinion, and Quincy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think they're asking Baker to do less than what the Ravens are asking Lamar. I think those two things go there, but I think right now, as a Ravens fan, you can be like, oh no, but Lamar's that much better than Baker Mayfield, because I don't think that's true for this year.
I would say this though about that statement. Yeah, he's not asked to throw as much or to carry the offense, but he's also asked to kind of get them out of worse situations than what the Ravens are asking for Lamar. Whereas the offense is kind of built around supporting Lamar. Baker Mayfield's kind of a secondary thought in the offense. So when Baker gets his opportunities, it's like 3rd and 10, 3rd and 7. You know, like it's situations that are a little bit rougher and more predictable to go up against. Trip has a super chat that's from here says Josh Allen not winning. And of course he's not winning.
Yeah, we're talking about his career. Yeah.
I just want to say one thing. the Ravens are not beating the Steelers. They had more positive tests than the Gucci Man and Jeezy after party. All right, so that's not happening. They're not going to beat the Steelers.
Well, the big thing right now is not with a lot of positive tests might work in the favor of the Ravens because there's two things can happen. One, delaying it for Thursday looks like a big possibility. I will say this to the Steelers fan. You might lose your mind, but Ravens might not have enough players for Thursday, even if you put every single practice squad player up to the roster. That's one. The question is, can the game be played Sunday? That's the big question. Because if they are positive, because there's two tiers, right? Positive confirmed and people that were near them, right? If the people that are near them, they have to quarantine for 5 days. So that's after Thursday. That will be for them to be ready for Friday or later. So that can be that the Steelers and Ravens play Sunday. If there are that many positive tests, there's two problems. The Ravens cannot play the Steelers game and the Dallas game needs to be moved to Sunday. Because right now, because anybody that is positive today, you have to quarantine for 10 days, right?
So why do you have to move the Dallas game? That's a Thursday.
Because we play Thursday, right? That's less than 10 days from today.
Yeah, you can't. You're not moving the game. Listen, you're moving this one because you literally can't field the team. I'm not moving next week because by that point you can field the team.
No. That's what I'm saying. Depending how many positive cases, if all these are positive cases, you cannot bring none of these guys until not this Friday, the following Friday. So the game for Dallas will be played.
You're going to play these games with all these positive guys. Yeah, that's fine. The only thing is, all you need is like the minimum, whatever they say, 46 guys to field the team.
Yes.
Cool. You got 46.
My point to you is, if you have all these positive tests, you will not have enough player against Dallas for a Thursday game. That will be moved to Sunday. It will be played. The Steelers game is the one in question.
Yeah, but how would you play the Steelers?
It would depend. Yeah, it would depend on. It would depend on when did those players. Well, it will also depend on when did they test positive as well, right? So that would definitely be a factor into it. But it's not looking good for the Baltimore Ravens. It would be a season-changing, almost like miracle-worthy win here. I just don't. We're gonna get into this on Thursday, by the way, but yeah, it would be a uphill. It's an uphill battle for the Baltimore Ravens, and they're in this position not because they lost this game, but because they lost a game in New England that they shouldn't have lost, and now they're in a terrible spot. You can't drop those games. Now you're in a bad situation. Now you got to do all this math. When people were predicting 16-0 to start the season. Shout out to Colin Cowherd, who's been colossally wrong all year, baby.
No. He was right. The winner of this division will go 16-0. He got that right. So give him credit for that.
He never even said that. He said the Baltimore Ravens will go 16-0 because
he just was mistaken.
Because they got spunk. That's what he said. He said they got it. They got spunk. That's why he predicted it. They were going to go 6 because Marquise Brown had some good workout videos. Literally cited that in that segment. In his segment, he cited the Marquise Brown workout videos. How that going? He got like 400 yards for the whole season. How those workout videos do for Marquise Brown? Oh my gosh, Colin Cowherd, you've taken a lot of L's. The Carson Wentz L, shout out to that one. Sam Darnold L, remember Sam Darnold L, closely tied to Adam Gase, another walking L that Colin Cowherd has taken on these L's, but he's still got a contract. And you know what? Shout out to his agent, because nobody can be more wrong more consistently for a 10-year period and still get hired. I think he has the same agent Zach Taylor has to not get fired in Cincinnati. So shout out to them, because they are obviously securing the bag in one way, because L's have been happening all season, both for Zach Taylor and Colin Cowherd. But now it's time for us to sign off. Sonny, let them know where to find you and your final parting shots.
So SZG Sports, I'm looking to do a live stream early Thursday, somewhere around lunchtime. Also, we're going to be here Thursday. Time to be determined. That's why it's important for you guys to hit that bell. Check us on Twitter, and we'll be on Flick also. And like I said, SZG Sport everywhere, IG, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. And yeah, guys, you can always hit me up and give me all your trash. That's fine. I'll take it.
All right, Ace, let them know where to find you, man.
You can find me at Paul Brown Stadium trying to clean out Zach Taylor's office and trying to find somebody to replace this guy. But no, seriously, you can find me on AFC North Talk. Obviously, you guys want to hit that subscribe button and get the notification so that you can catch this. We had almost 400 people here today. Obviously, this stuff is funny. I love doing this with these guys. It makes being 2-7-1 that much better. Like, honestly, I'd probably be miserable right now, but being able to talk is definitely therapy, and being able to talk to you guys is definitely therapy. But you can find me also at New Stripe City on Twitter, also on YouTube at New Stripe City. But please be sure to subscribe here to the AFC North Talk.
You're about to see Ace outside of Zach Taylor's house, like Taraji P. Henson in that one movie where she's like, get your shit, and get out. Tony, let them know where to find you.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Steeler Country. You can find me on Locked On Steelers every Tuesday with my friend Christopher Carter. I'm not on this week. I wasn't able to make it, wedding and all. But I will be on there next week. I'll be on there. I'll be back here Thursday to talk Steelers Ravens. Looking forward to that conversation as we're talking about. Remember, if the Steelers win, the Ravens are eliminated from AFC North contention. We'll talk about that on Thursday, so make sure you're subscribed. We'll be back I guess we'll be back some point on Thursday. We'll see you then.
Yeah, maybe I should have made my 6-10 prediction for the Ravens. Oh my goodness, I don't know. It's still live, but
nope.
7-9.
Yeah, 7-9. Oh, come on. At least 8. Jim Harbaugh don't go below 5. Well, he
John.
Yeah, Jim does. Jim Harbaugh does.
We need Jim.
Jim, no.
Hey, I hear this.
This is Taylor. Are you serious?
Do we have to spend an entire offseason talking you off of this?
I know if Zach Taylor is the dysfunction you were trying to walk away from, the rebound ain't Jim,
come on, bro.
No.
Come on now.
He got one win.
It's college.
Hey,
I'm about to step it
up
up.
Over to the NFL.
Get the offensive coordinator from I'm blanking his name, from KC, the enemy.
I'll take the enemy. I wanted the enemy. Over Zach Taylor, but you know what? Bengals were like, nah, bro. Look, we're gonna go with Zach Taylor, a guy that doesn't even know how to run an NFL practice, and he's gonna be amazing.
He was at the same seminar as the guy in LA, though, so he's good. McVay. He was at the same seminar.
He shared a cup of coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was like, you're hired.
The Bengals are the college freshmen that's been dating their high school boyfriend who ain't been doing nothing, for a couple of years, and they got held up. The last thing you need to do is date the drug dealer on campus, and that's Jim Harbaugh. That's not. No, you need to get you a nice board.
Come get the plug.
The Bengals are Sierra. You don't need to go to Future. You need to find you a Russell, a nice little boring, quiet guy who's just going to do the right things and build an offensive line. Because you know what Jim Harbaugh going to be like? We can build the offensive line with enthusiasm because that's what he did with Michigan. That's what Jim Harbaugh does. Bro.
Right now, we don't have Future. We got OT Genesis right now. We need somebody.
Don't go to Kodak Black. Like he's worse.
Oh man.
As much as I would like to see the Bengals be back to being the Bungles, I don't want to see it happen like that. Jim Harbaugh, I wouldn't wish Jim Harbaugh on nobody because he is not good.
I'll take Jim Harbaugh. I'll take Hugh Jackson. I'll take Rex Ryan.
Baby,
I'll
please.
take Rex Ryan right now.
Not sexy Rex.
I'll take Rex Ryan right now. That's how
please.
bad.
Y'all don't need any of these dudes with personalities. Y'all need to sign Kawhi Leonard to be the head coach. Y'all need the most boring guy. Y'all got Joe Burrow. Just get somebody boring. Like, you know what I mean? Don't get anybody with a personality.
We need does Stefanski have a clone? We need him. Bring him down. Bring Kevin Stefanski down, please.
Well, we wrap that one up right in time. All right, so my name's Quincy Carey. You can find me on youtube.com/Quincy Carrier. Live streams after the games on Sunday. So if you like this, check it out there. We have a good time there. I take call-ins through Patreon, all that fun stuff there. So check me out there. Follow me on Twitter at Quincy. It's where people like to get at me. I've been kind of getting at the Raven fans a little bit. I'm known as a little bit of a Ravens hater, but I've been actually praising them. Said they were going to go 12-4. Now they letting me down because don't look like they will go 12-4. Not going to be able to do it. Now I know Tony and me. I don't know about Sonny and Ace, we about to have a nice little Thanksgiving here. About to eat some mac and cheese. You know, I don't do turkey. I'm about to get some drumsticks. You know, I'm about to have a nice Thanksgiving, enjoying this.
Free. I'll have a stress-free Thanksgiving.
As long as for Christmas, I get a Zach Taylor fire, it is all worth it. I can have the worst Thanksgiving ever.
It's going to drop on your screen. Zach Taylor extended for 4 years. As the Bengals double down to recommit.
They're going to fire Zach Taylor and promote the offensive line coach.
I don't care if the Macy Day parade is on or the Brown or football game is on. I'm going to go straight to New Stripe City Stream because, oh, my God, I got to see what's going down on that one. But that's where you can find me. I want to thank everybody who joined in here. Almost 400 in chat. We got a ton of likes. Make sure you hit a comment down below to let us know what you want us to talk about next week. But thank you guys for coming. Have a great day. Have a good night.
Have you ever Are you listening? Damn.